Chris Yannick, CYInterview, covering Las Vegas and the world. We continue today our road to WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Of course, WrestleMania will take place on April 19th and 20th of this month at Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. We are now 15 days away from WrestleMania here in the entertainment capital of the world. Today we look back at another fast pro wrestling CYInterview I did with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and here is that conversation.
You're on CYInterview.
I'm Chris Yandick. We at CYInterview were saddened to hear about the passing of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Mr. Rhodes was one of the most accomplished professional wrestlers in history. I was fortunate to speak with him twice. The most memorable was a chat on my then weekly wrestling radio program in 2003. CYInterview now brings you that 40-minute chat in its entirety.
To welcome my guest this time, he is the total creative genius. He is a man who's been around for so many years, up and down the States, up and around the world, to Japan and back. Dusty Rhodes, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be talking to you. I don't know, all that great accolade for the American Dream. I love it. It's cool.
Absolutely, for sure. Tomorrow night in Pinellas Park, Florida, you're going to be teaming with Bubba the Love Sponge. Okay, this is a very interesting concept, I guess you could say. Bubba the Love Sponge, a friend of Hulk Hogan, a man who really isn't a professional wrestler, thinks he's a professional wrestler, but more or less, what are your thoughts on tomorrow night's tag team match with Kevin Sullivan in there as well in Pinellas Park, Florida?
Well, the only thing that is important that Bubba understands that me and the Devil have had numerous, probably more than anyone else, heated battles, and even at our ages, it's still that thing that me and him when we clash. So I hope that Bubba's ready for whatever goes down, because and most of all though, right now at my age, it's really cool just going back and revisiting areas and talking with the fans and seeing the fans that. I know it's corny, but it brought me to the dance. It's cool to give back, and it's what I do. I've done it for 35 years. So, Devil is, he's I think, and about the situation as I am. So we'll see what happens.
We're speaking to Dusty Rhodes, wrestling legend here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio. Dusty, are you excited to return to Tampa, Florida, as far as one of your first shows in a little while in the Tampa Bay, Florida area? Back from the days of Championship Wrestling for Florida. You were there for so many years, and even though I guess you could say, even in, you read Hulk Hogan's book, he said, I grew up on Dusty Rhodes and Championship Wrestling from Florida in itself.
Well, he's I respect him tremendously, and, Florida is I feel like is my, it's my place. It's, a lot of guys, as you said earlier, filtrated into that area because of the sunshine and the summer and the great promotion Eddie Graham, my mentor, had there. So it's really easy to see where a lot of the great athletes and entertainers and for came from in that area, and truly he's there in a different realm than most other guys are. I always say there's 4 or 5 guys that can walk in anywhere, even at this age, and if you mention their name, they know who they are, and I'm gifted to be one of them, and surely he is. So, he carries the torch well for the Tampa area. But there's a lot of guys that had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in building that. Probably the greatest territory, as we talked about territorial days there was in the country. That was a stepping stone to the world heavyweight title, and the Briscoes and the great athletes that I learned so much from. So. It's a great place to go back to.
We're speaking to Dusty Rhodes here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio in itself. Yes, it's a wonderful place to go to. Tomorrow night, Pinellas Park, Florida. Bubba the Love Sponge, Dusty Rhodes. Interesting concepts. Kevin Sullivan in the middle of it. Should be a very interesting show for sure in itself. I have to ask you, this past Wednesday, you had the opportunity to wrestle Jeff Jarrett in the main event of NWA TNA. I guess you could say that is the main promotion in the whole NWA territories of the day. But in itself, what has it been like working with NWA TNA overall at this point, and what are your thoughts on that company's future?
I think the future is bright. I think there's a tremendous amount of young athletes that are there. Surely AJ Styles and guys like that are phenomenal performers, and mixed with the legendary figures and Jeff Jarrett cornerstone because he understands and he knows what the NWA meant. And the fans there just, they throw it out for me. So it's easy to go on Wednesday night. I think when a national television, free TV comes, whether it be cable or whatever systems that the Carter family are working on there comes, then it will be a real driving force, because other than that, it's about 1,000 or 1,500 independents or more around the country, and most of them are not good. Most of them are just guys that can go on the internet and they can buy a ring or buy a pair of boots, and they have a show and they call themselves a promoter, and they've been fans, and a lot of them are good. A lot of them are really cool, and other than that, the NWA TNA is the next thing. It reminds me a lot of the old Crockett era and the Florida era and the television and the way things were done, and some old school mix, obviously, with the new schools is what makes it so exciting for the young guys, because we got to face it. There's about 700-800 guys around the country, and there's some really great talent that don't have a place to show their wares. We used to go 7 days a week, sometimes twice on Sunday in Florida, in the Georgia areas, in Oregon, and Kansas City, and then in Mid-Atlantic, and the 21 different territories. A guy could earn a living and had places to go, and now it's just kind of a hit and miss on the weekend. So it's really rough for the young talent.
In itself, rumor has it that they are working on a television deal very similar that they would have to actually pay for to be on weekly, but supposedly that they do have a very slot of television deals or ideas in the works, so hopefully that will be the next step for this company to make it a major promotion or a major number 2 promotion itself, even though it kind of already is in itself. But more or less, what are your thoughts on this company's chances fully overall in a short summary? Because I know we could say a million things about this company at this point.
I think it's standing on solid ground. I know that on Wednesday nights it's paying for every Wednesday night and having a pay-per-view, and the people behind the scenes having to come up with great ideas and different things. There's not enough people seeing it right now. Not enough people seeing the great talent. Not enough people, looking at these kids like America's Most Wanted. I mean, these two kids are as good a tag team as anybody in the country, and I think when AJ Styles gets some personality, he will be a driving force too. So the leadership, I think, is going to be in great hands. It's got to come very quickly, I think, within the next few months, or there's been so much money spent on the pay-per-view end of it, and I was behind the scenes for so many years, and it gets very financially strained. So keep our fingers crossed, and if I did anything to help them get to that next level, then that's cool.
Back in itself, when we look back on the days of the NWA, I never got the chance to ask you this in our first interview way back a few years ago, but what are your thoughts on the NWA Board of Directors? What were your thoughts on the Board of Directors that decided the title changes and decided all the things that went on in the NWA? What were your thoughts on that, on the NWA Board of Directors overall?
It was an honor in the old days to be the world's heavyweight champion to carry the NWA strap. You look at all the guys from my best friend White Richard, Dick Murdoch, and Wahoo McDaniels, and guys that did never carry that strap, and it was always a goal of them. It was a prestigious thing, and it was an honor, and it meant that you were not only accepted by your peers, but you were accepted by Mr. Mushnick, Sam Mushnick, and that group of people, and it was run as a company and as a big business, and it kind of went to the wayside after the Crockett sale to TBS and that Saturday night show that made legendary stars out of guys that won nationally and internationally, and when that happened, that whole board of directors thing kind of got out of whack right now. Now Bill Behrens is the president of the National Wrestling Alliance, and it's beginning to look a lot like it did during that era. But what has to succeed is that NWA TNA has to get, as you said, a national recognized television and weekly shows, 4 or 5 shows a week, different areas, for it to generate arena business that makes all this happen. And I know they're working really hard to do it, but there was a time where the board of directors was just, they were off in Istanbul somewhere. I don't know where they were.
I absolutely agree with that in itself for sure. When you look at the wrestling business today and what World Wrestling Entertainment is doing, first off, I'd like to ask you, what are your thoughts? News sites have said, and World Wrestling Entertainment has said, that they are not extending your son's contract, Dustin Rhodes, a.k.a. Goldust, through January will be his last month with World Wrestling Entertainment. Is there any idea of what he's going to be doing in the near future? Will he possibly be working with you or going to Japan, or is there any idea what your son might be doing within the near future within the wrestling business after his contract is up with World Wrestling Entertainment?
Well, I think that there's two people we're talking about. We're talking about the Lone Star Dustin Rhodes, is tremendously talented. He's only 34 years old. He's still not even hit prime time. With his ability and business-wise, we talk every day, but I will not interfere in his business or what's going on there. I think the opportunities are out there for him, to go anywhere. I'm making my first trip coming back in January to Japan in about 12 years, and it's a cool thing that I wanted to do before I retired completely from being active and so I know there's a lot of interest, overseas in him, and I know there's a lot of interest in him at NWA TNA. So, I would love to see my son sometime carry the banner as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. I think that'd be a cool deal.
I think absolutely for sure in itself it would be a cool deal in itself. World Wrestling Entertainment is missing out on one hell of a talent, but he's done very well there for sure,
yes.
So maybe it's time to explore other things for sure in itself. We're speaking to Dusty Rhodes, wrestling legend, here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio in itself. You've had so many amazing matches, but I really have to ask you, what was it like to work with Tully Blanchard overall?
Well, there's I'm asked a lot of times about the matches or the outstanding things that you can remember back in a career or things that were really cool. I think the many battles and angles and things that me and the Devil, Kevin Sullivan himself, were in Florida are legendary. And I think Harley Race is the toughest of all of them. And I think Terry Funk will always be my arch rival more than anybody. But the Tully Blanchard era with the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, if you look at old DVDs or tapes and you go back, I mean, that truly was, even when he had Baby Doll, that was truly some tremendous stories and tremendous things that went down with me and him, and of course the Horseman, but mostly with me and him. So I put him in that group of Funk and Race and Kevin Sullivan and guys like that.
We're speaking to Dusty Rhodes, wrestling legend, here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio and stuff. All right, Dusty, we're going to get to a few questions from the fans in the industry who's cherish and love your career, and are just so excited to speak to you tonight. We're going to go to a man in Indiana first tonight who's got a question for the wrestling legend, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio. So we're going to go ahead with that.
Hello.
First of all, Dusty, I had the distinct honor of watching you defend your title with a broken arm against Terry Funk.
Yes.
I have followed your career since then, and sir, I have the utmost respect for you. You are the best. Now, two quick questions.
Yes.
Number one, are you ever going to come up to the Northwest Ohio area and bring your wrestling up there? And number two, do you keep in contact with Magnum TA? How is he doing since the car accident? And in your answer, sir, if you would, I would love to hear you do one of yours, if you will.
Yeah, well,
kind of playing,
if
you would, sir. Thank you.
About. But I appreciate the accolades, and one thing that I can say right off the bat, that if it wasn't for you guys and it wasn't for the fans, and I don't know if that's lost or not in sports, from football, pro football and up, is that because of the way I looked and my chubby-ass body and the way I was, the fans is what took me and made this American Dream and proved that the American Dream is this kid from Austin, Texas, son of a plumber and all that stuff that could rise to the occasion and become World Heavyweight Champion, sell out Madison Square Garden, wherever it may be. So, first question, I'll answer the second one first. Magnum Fury's got a tower business in Charlotte, North Carolina. He spent a lot of time in rehab. This is a man that I was there that morning when they had 1,000,001 chance to move from the neck down. They can actually walk and move around and run his own company. He's doing very well, and I'm very proud of that. There needs to be a book done on what he went through and how that came, because he surely was the heir to the throne. He was the golden boy of the NWA, and he was on a par with Hollywood himself during that time. So you know, he's doing well. And as far as Michael Bryan is my agent as far as booking me around the country right now. And this is kind of my last year coming up, going into 2004, and I'm going to try to go to all the areas. I want to go to all the areas that I haven't been in a while, and you know, just so the old man can bring the kid in and say, hey man, you see Babe Ruth bat one more time. I think that's important, you know, to do that. So hopefully that I get within some place to where, you know, you get a chance to bring the kids and whoever and come take a look at Dusty Rhodes in America. I still enjoy doing it. My home 35 years has been the dressing room, the locker rooms, and the guys, and I have a great bond with them, and I think it's so important that you know, not having to do it and then being able to do it still is important for me, and it's what I do. I mean, the only long story short, but the only one left here at the house. All my kids are grown; they're in college, and Cody Runnels is the youngest. He's 18 years old. He's a senior last year high school. He's 48-0. He's a state champion at 189. Tremendous athlete, great wrestler. He's into his senior year here, so you know, that's what's really important. And he goes around with me, and he likes seeing the fans and everything. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely, for sure. We're speaking to the wrestling legend himself, Dusty Rhodes, here tonight on your Wrestling Radio. Dusty, as we continue the conversation with you, before we go, if you're interested in booking Dusty Rhodes for an event, an appearance, or anything else, you can email Mike O'Brien at newwrestling@yahoo.com. That's 2 W's, newwrestling@yahoo.com. Thought I should get that in for you, more or less. So,
well, yeah, it's cool, but it's cool into the fact is, you know, I mean, whether it be personal appearances or raising money for your high school or
autograph
whatever,
session.
it's cool, yeah, it's cool.
A great way to meet Dusty Rhodes, a man who can tell you like it is and will say it like it is for sure in itself. What were your thoughts on working for Vince McMahon Jr. compared to working for Vince McMahon Sr.?
Well, we've been in the process of, you know, within the last year of finishing my book, and it's very important that this book is not a cookie-cutter book or a book that is just turned out of the current stars, and they're doing well, and I'm glad for them, and they have a book, and I beat so-and-so, and I was so glad that this happened, and they had me go over this guy. This is a book about the industry, the way it is, and the way it was, and when I was in the thick of the industry, and when it was run, or as I say in my book, it is a cookie cutter really of the mafia. It's territorial. It's nobody came in without permission. There were times to where there was violent acts occurred and different things happened, and you know, it was a great time, but it was blueprinted from almost like the mafia as we know it, and this book will hit on all the things that me and Vince Jr. did, and two godfathers in this book to me were Eddie Graham, my mentor, and Vince McMahon Sr., who was the classiest guy I had ever been around. And I remember many times at Madison Square Garden when his old cronies or his guys would come around that helped him in the industry, and they would walk down the hall, and he always had a payoff for them in Madison Square Garden. Always when they went to shake hands, he left money in their hands, and I'll never forget that. And Vince Jr. is in a situation to where he became this unbelievable mogul in the entertainment industry, period, and whether it be football or whatever it was. I mean, he's tremendously talented, and he surrounds himself with talented people. And but I really enjoyed, you know, being with Vince Sr. and in that era. So you know, Vince, it was fun. It was a year. You know, a lot of people don't remember, or they do remember, but the Dusty Rhodes American Dream in the Garden with Vince Sr. and all over the WWF at that time was really the big thing for me. New York was my base. I was the king of New York at one time. And then with the era with Vince Jr. and his, you know, what they call the polka dot era, it only lasted a year and a half, and it was a time to where I'd finished in Florida and Georgia, and I needed a break, and I just needed to clear my head. He said, I just want you to have some fun for about a year and a half. Plus, bottom line is he made me a tremendous amount of money. But his dad was a class act, and respect is I write a lot about him, his dad, in this book.
We're speaking of Dusty Rhodes, wrestling legend here tonight near WrestleMania. All right, the fans have the questions that matter. The question is first, when is the book going to be released, and where can you purchase the book? Most likely it'll probably be you can purchase it in bookstores all across the world, but more or less, is this book through World Wrestling Entertainment Publishing as well?
No, me and Vince talked numerous times a few months ago about it. He wanted to do it, and WWE Books had already contacted me. I'd sent in some pre-work on the book, and they put me with Simon & Schuster, and the pre-work began with Simon & Schuster, and I was going to release it through there because it's a great avenue to do so. And there was some upfront money that I wanted, and as you say, I tell it like it is, and it wasn't, what I thought. The offer was not what I thought was right, so I pulled back and pulled out, and now I'm speaking with other agencies and other book companies besides Simon & Schuster and WWE to try to do this book, because I want to do the book like I want to do the book. I don't need a co-writer. I don't need nobody to
write it.
Maybe somebody to type it or somebody. I mean, but it's my thoughts. It's my era. It's my work, and I want it to be what I wanted to be. So the upfront money was not right, so the deal fell through with WWE Books, but that has nothing to do really with Vince. He is in the money-making business, and now at this time of my career, I mean, I'm not going to sell this book short. You know what I mean? Even if I got to wait till March or June of next year, but hopefully that we can have a deal done and have it out naturally on the bookstores and a book tour and everything in February or March.
Absolutely, for sure in itself. Hopefully you'll get a great buying, and it's a thing that you truly deserve. And you know what? The ultimate Ric Flair DVD collection out. It wouldn't be a shame to have a Dusty Rhodes collection out tonight as well. I need a collection in the near future, but a book for now is just as good, and hopefully you'll actually buy out or print more versions. And hopefully the third book, and that's coming out in March of 2004 for sure.
Yeah.
The rivalry continues, and how many years later for sure, between you and Ric Flair, no doubt in itself. All right, we're going to go to Legion 14, who's got a question for the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty, just hang on as we get this call connected here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio, and you can just wait for that. Hang on. Hang on. Is there a call there? All right, you lost your opportunity. We're continuing to talk this evening with the American legend himself, Dusty Rhodes, here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio in itself, here on the Power Talk Radio. Dusty, as we continue the conversation this evening, I have to ask you, how much did you enjoy doing the broadcast announcing for WCW Saturday night in itself?
I enjoyed it to the point of to where I thought I'd got pretty decent as far as doing the color on it. It was just it was cool at a time to where I'd kind of relax and step back. As I look back now in that situation, there was a really dramatic thing when Jim Herd first took over at WCW, and I had one out of power that I had so much of with Crockett Promotions in Florida and that George and the whole deal. And the bottom line was that my attorney had flown in and they had offered a tremendous amount of money to me to not be the American Dream, to be the bad guy, the heel as people talk about it. And I turned it down because I'd spent so much time to build this character, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, even after that, for a while, I just kind of laid back and I did behind-the-scenes work, and I created, from the Starcades to the different events for WCW and all of the pay-per-views for quite a while, and I got away from saying, hey, I was still young enough, I should have went ahead and become a bad guy, but went ahead and throw my name back in the hat and become more active, because there was a spell there for about 7 or 8 years to where I wasn't active, and then when that was gone and we changed around, and Mike had called me and said, man, you need to go out on the road here a little bit, and if you enjoy it, if it's not too much, and I wish I'd have done it a little bit sooner, but it's never too late because I enjoy what I'm doing now.
In itself, absolutely. I know that a fan in the forum's going to love this, but what's up with Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling at this point?
Well, what we did was, after 2.5 years of a struggle, as all independents do, there's visions that I have of it, and there's visions that I want to happen with it, and then visions require a tremendous amount of money in today's market, and it needs to have a television. And I was not willing to pay for TV. I believe that we have a product and we're selling it, and it's a great product, and my name is on it, and that product, has to. We do just as much for the television stations as they do for putting us on. So for 2.5 years, we struggled in small towns and had some great home runs and had some strikeouts. But the bottom line was we went to a paid company. That means if you want to raise money for your high school, if you want to bring us in, Turnbuckle, anywhere in the country to do anything, then here's a price. I have a price for different stuff. And this is what we want to do it. We bring in talent. So we went the casino route, which we're still doing, and went into Oklahoma, and me and Jerry the King Lawler, the great card. And because I was watching the fights, Fox Sports Network boxing matches from the different casinos, and I see them paying a lot of money to the boxing, and most of the time the fights did not live up to I don't believe what they were paying or the hype of what was going on. So the casinos, I said, I got a great brand of entertainment for a price that people will go out of the casino and out of the matches and spend money in your casino. So it's worked pretty well. So it's a company right now that, if a television came aboard to where we could say regionally we could do TV, or Sunshine Network could have a great television time and not 12 or 1 o'clock. Hell, ain't nobody watching. The only people watching television at 1 o'clock or 12 midnight that are big wrestling fans
are the people. Also the people who used to watch ECW as well. You'd have to stay up like at 3 a.m. to watch it on the Sunshine Network used to be in, more or less.
Yeah, but in New York, during the time to where Vince Sr. was there, the Florida show was really a cult, almost following in New York City, and that TV was so strong at 12 midnight, at 1 o'clock in the morning, because people in New York are just going out and they're just getting dressed and they're watching the show, and it really, the Florida TV in New York City is really what, not even the TBS thing, it's what really put me over, because I didn't do one television for Vince McMahon Sr. at all until my first appearance in the Garden. I remember the night they announced that Bill Apter was there. They called me on the phone the night they announced that I was coming. He said it was not a roar like they had never heard before. So obviously a lot of people were watching at that time, but it's very hard down in Florida at 3 o'clock in the morning to build a television or wrestling company, and it's hard. It takes money, and there's too many guys that have money, and like the MLW, and them guys that come in and they overpay their talent, they overpay their production of what they want to see, and they overpay for television, and pretty soon the money's run out. They're out of business.
Well, more or less, they seem to be regrouping in the New York area and stuff. I just want to let you know that I was at ringside sitting there with the other media journalists during the December show last year. When you, Dusty Rhodes, when you, Terry Funk, and of course Steve Corino had one hell of a three-way. I have to say that, more or less.
Yeah, and it was the people that didn't see all of it, and then even afterwards with me and Funk is, that's worth the price of admission. It's just
it
was priceless. And,
it was,
and a lot of writers and writers became very important to our industry, where they never were before, and they all have an opinion, and they're most of them are young, and they have an opinion about what they see, and like X Division and all this, and I don't think they really spend a lot of time and learn the process of storytelling. The other night we're in a strap match, okay? So you go on the net and says, the worst match there was Jared and Rhodes. Well, it was not the worst match there. You had to be there, and you had to be the owner of the company, and you had to hear the roar, and for what a strap match was. It wasn't for the title. It wasn't to take a hold, wrestle in for an hour. It was that the fans got an opportunity to strap Jared. It was that simple, and they got what they paid for, and they paid to see. So sometimes they take a hard line because they can't believe that guys my age are still in the industry until you're in the arena and you hear the roar, and then you say, well, he's going up to Virginia for UCW and Woody and them guys up there, and they're selling out these high schools and things and raising money, and this is a pretty cool deal. So I don't knock them. I don't dislike them. I'm talking about writers or whatever. I just think that you know, the concept of what they think wrestling is and what it really is pretty far between.
Okay, we're speaking to Dusty Rhodes here on Near Wrestling Radio. We've got a few minutes left with Dusty Rhodes. Remember, tomorrow night, Pinellas Park, Florida, the Tampa Bay area, Dusty Rhodes, Silver the Love Sponge, Kevin Sullivan, all in a crazy tag team match in itself in Pinellas Park, Florida. Tomorrow night, guys, Dusty Rhodes returns to Tampa, Florida, and if you're interested in booking Dusty Rhodes for a personal appearance, you can email Michael Bryan, his agent, at newwrestling@yahoo.com. That's 2 W's, newwrestling@yahoo.com. All right, we're going to go back to the phones. CG Rocks with a question for the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. We're going to go ahead with that. Okay, hold on, Dusty. We got another caller, another fan who wants to talk to the living legend.
Hey, Dusty, big fan of yours. You got some relatives that lives in Alabama, I believe.
Who does now? I could barely hear you, young'un.
He basically was just saying that he knows some relatives of yours in Alabama. He just wanted to wish you well on your wrestling career in itself. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that your phone volume is up if you're going to speak to the living legend Dusty Rhodes this evening here on New York Wrestling Radio in itself. We're continuing our conversation this evening.
And you know what, though, not to interrupt you, but on that question, is that people say that all the time, and I'm going to tell you how it is. I have no people, no cousins, no uncles, nobody that lives in Alabama. There's nobody that are kin to me in Alabama. My kin live in Colorado, and they live in Florida, and they live in Oklahoma, and they live in Texas. And I get that a lot. I remember one night in the Omni, a guy come up and said, well, he said, your daddy wants in free. Your dad is out here. He wants to see you. You know what I mean? And I said, well, you know, I really like to see him because he's been dead now for about 13 years. That'd really be cool. You know what I mean? And so I had walked out, and it was one of my brothers. It was a big heavy-set black man, you know what I mean? And I walked out, and so not to embarrass him, everybody, all the ushers and everybody was looking around. I put my arms open, man. I stuck them out and said, Daddy, how you doing? Good to see you, you know what I mean? I said, take him and set him on the front row. Hell, they took him and set him on the front row. But you get that a lot. You know, you'll see people say, hey, I'm kin to Dusty Rhodes, or I know Hulk Hogan, or things like that, you know, and it's pretty cool.
In itself, for sure. All right, we're going to go to Dr. Gumpy, a regular of New York Wrestling Radio, who's got a question for the wrestling legend himself. We're going to go ahead with that.
Hey, Dusty, long time to see. I met you a long time ago, and WCW came to Rochester, New York, and I wanted to know, what was your thoughts about WCW leaving and being bought out by WWE at the time of the controversy over show ratings?
You mean at the end of WCW's reign?
Yeah.
Well, it was a situation to where the wrestling had really become at WCW run by the inmates. What I mean by that, there were big contracts given to everybody, and they all had them. And if they got hurt or a fingernail got tore, they would take off for 2 or 3 months and still get paid. It was draining this company, and no matter how good you were wrestling people that were involved in the behind the scenes, there was always somebody, they always called it on the North Tower, and they would sit down and say, they said that. The hell I used to say, who in the hell are they? Who are they? You know what I mean? That know my business like it is. They know the entertainment business. They know CNN. They know how to put on movies on the Time Warner, and they know all these things. But they don't know the wrestling industry. It's a tremendous industry. It's tremendous business. And it has to be run by knowledgeable people, and I blame them for the fall of that. And also, like I said, I don't blame the guys for getting the money. I mean, I wanted the guys to, you know, to get all the money they could. That was cool, but there were situations to where, you know, when that happened, that didn't come from the guys that were supposedly running. It came from the North Tower. It came from whoever they were, and they were wrong, obviously.
All right, we got less than 10 minutes left of Dusty Rhodes. So we're going to go to Susie, who's got a question for the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio. So we're going to go ahead with that. Hang on. All right. You lose your opportunity, guys. I guess that person left here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio. You got to get your questions in as we speak here tonight if you're going to talk to a wrestling legend. And please adjust your phone volume. It's always here tonight on New York Wrestling Radio. So, Dusty, as we continue the conversation in itself, when we look at the wrestling business today and we look at everything more or less, I have to ask you, You know, we talked about this earlier, and we continue to discuss this in itself, but it just seems like you've been booked everywhere that you can think of late, and you really have been out there on the independent scene. What do you learn, or what do you say to some of these younger guys when they come up to you and ask, what advice could you give me? I love the wrestling business. I'm an indie worker trying to, you know, get to the top. What should I do? Blah, blah, blah. Should I change this? Any advice for me? You know, do you get a lot of that when you go to these independent shows?
Well, you know, it's a deal to where if they ask, if they really want to know, and I feel they do, then I'll give them my opinion. I won't say that that's the way it should be, but that's an opinion that I have, and it's a thing that varies from different places. I know at TNA, I have a tremendous following of young guys that will spend time on their interviews, and I worked with AJ Styles a couple of weeks ago on his interview, and he had probably the best interview that he's had 2 weeks ago. And if they ask and they want help, and the promotion knows that I'm not going to steer them wrong, and it's two of the young kids in the X division. I won't mention their names, but they always come up and always tell them slow down. I said, I'm not saying to be old school, but I'm saying by the time that you have taken one of these tremendous bumps and you did this, by the time that the fans really want to get into it and say, okay, I like this guy, I hate this other guy, it's really good against bad. Before that can even happen, they back up and they're doing another thing, and it runs into spot after spot after spot, almost like stuntmen. It's almost like just watching. There's no story being told, and they write it up like, boy, this was the greatest match that I've ever seen. There was no match to it. There were things happening, and if they ask me, I tell them. I say, you know, slow down to a point of where if you get slammed and your back is hurting, you need to sell that back. You need to take time in that so the fans can sell with you. The fans that like you, they want to come back with you. They want to sell with you. They want to laugh with you. They want to cry with you. They want to bleed with you. And if you don't make them part of that, you lose that national audience, or you lose that arena fan to go out for 20 minutes and do 1 million things when you could probably do about half of that. I don't mean a million, but half of what you're doing, and really get a great story told. And they work so hard in trying to do it. And these two guys I'm talking about are tremendous performers. There's people that can't do what they do, but what they do doesn't mean that that's a great wrestling match, because it's and what I did with Jared in the strap match was not a wrestling match. I thought the match I had with AJ Styles was a good match. I thought it told a good story, and I will stick with that philosophy no matter what's written about me or what's said about me.
All right, we got a few minutes left with Dusty, so we're going to take one more question. A man from Indiana's got a question for the wrestling legend himself, Dusty Rhodes, here tonight near WrestleMania, so go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. Dusty, I just wanted to jump up here, sir. I've been watching wrestling for over 25 years, and I have enjoyed it. And out of all those years, two wrestlers come to mind. One of those is the great Mr. Wrestling #2, and the other one is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And sir, on behalf of myself and all the wrestling fans that I know, I would like to thank you personally for all the great times that you have given us fans.
Well, and it goes back to you. I mean, what I received from the wrestling fans, I mean, it's just, I was deer hunting the other day with a guy, senator in Georgia here, a friend of mine, Richard Green, and we were deer hunting, and I was telling him a story. I mean, he works in legislation and all this, and I was telling him a story about the fans, and he asked me, man, you say you barely walked this morning, you all stove up, and you're not getting funky like a monkey out here on this deer stand. You're kind of slow moving, and it's an honor to be able to perform. But what you guys need to understand is, and I say this a lot, and they say it's corny, but it is not corny, that the reason that I have whatever I have today, my children have went to school and college and all this stuff, if it hadn't been for y'all, there would not be no American Dream, and that's in any walk of life. And if you ever forget where you come from, it's just it's no good. So I think that any kid that I would break into Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, any young wrestler that would come to me, I would ask him a couple questions. I say, do you know who Lou Thesz is? Do you know who Dory Funk Jr. is? And if they didn't know either one of these guys, they wouldn't even get in the door, because history and men that set tables for you, to eat off of or impart. And if you don't know them, if all you know is Joe Blow from 1998 or something like that, then you don't belong in my industry. There's a study that goes on. It would be like somebody playing baseball not knowing who Babe Ruth was. I mean, it's just crazy.
Okay, 2 final questions before I let you go. First, tomorrow night, Pinellas Park, Florida, Dusty Rhodes, Phil the Love Sponge, the buddy of Hulk Hogan, and as well, Kevin Sullivan. Dusty returns to Tampa, Florida. If you're interested in booking Dusty for an appearance, New Wrestling at yahoo.com through his agent, Michael Bryan. That's 2 W's, New Wrestling at yahoo.com as well. Okay, final 2 questions. What are your thoughts on your former partner, Dick Murdoch, and what is up with Southside Trash today?
First of all, Dick Murdoch was probably one of the best performers in our industry. There was nobody, I don't think, when I go back and I say young guys that were natural when they came in. Dustin was one, not because of my son, he was natural. Barry Windham was unbelievable at 18 years old. He was a natural-born performer, and it's hard to find young guys that are like that, you know. And I think that I think that's a lost art, because just what we talked about, there's no place to go, learn your wares, and put it out. They don't get enough good advice on the independent circuit.
Absolutely, for sure. And what's up with the tag team Southside Trash itself?
I haven't seen them guys that were with WCW for a while. It's been over a year, and I wish them well. I don't know what they're doing, or even if they're still together, because I don't put a lot of thought into what them guys are doing. When they were with me, they performed very well, and they tried hard, and they did whatever was asked of them, so they're pretty cool guys.
All right, Dusty, thank you so much. We wish you the best with your book. DustyRhodes.net, ladies and gentlemen, is the official website. New Wrestling at yahoo.com. If you're interested in booking him for a public appearance tomorrow night, Pinellas Park, Florida, him, Bubba the Love Sponge, Kevin Sullivan, he returns to Tampa, Florida. Dusty, thank you so much, and we wish you the best with your legend career in TNA and everything else you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to talk to you guys.
Have a great night, Dusty.
For CY Interview, I'm Chris Yandek.